Shields up, Iron Breakers. Good morning for those of you that are watching this live, or good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on where you are in the world. That was a little bit of Truman right there. Today we're once again going to be talking about Diablo Immortal. Not sure whether or not I'm going to be uploading this on YouTube, but even if I do, at least one portion of this is going to have to be clipped out, because there is a video that I want to play to make a point, and I'm not sure if that video is going to get me in trouble. I'm just not sure, but I got to do it. I got to do it. Now, before we begin this particular live stream, this particular broadcast, I want to make sure that people understand something. I don't hate Blizzard. As a matter of fact, if I hated Blizzard, I wouldn't do this. I would look at what happened and I would move on with my life because I wouldn't care. What is happening right now is the exact opposite. I love Blizzard, and that's why I'm doing this. Because I love them. Because I think that they've made some amazing games, and a lot of people don't know. But probably one of the main reasons why I took computer science was Blizzard. Because it was a young man's dream to eventually become good enough at coding and developing and programming that I could potentially work for Blizzard. I am not kidding. I am not making this shit up. Like, I was playing StarCraft at the time when I made the decision, when I had to make the decision, because I was just at that point in your education where you have to decide what you're going to be majoring on. And I was so passionate about Blizzard's video games that I chose computer science. Now, naturally, that never really panned out. I'm not working for Blizzard, am I? But I still hold a deep passion for Blizzard video games. And this is why I'm doing this, okay? I want to make sure that people understand I'm not doing this to hate. I'm doing this because I want them to know how the community, at least how I think the community feels right now. That's the main reason. I generally tend not to hate gaming companies in general, simply because I just want all of them to do good, because if they all do good, there's greater competition in the market and we all get better video games for it. That's usually how it goes. So anyways, let's get started. You seen that Kotaku Insider that said Diablo 4? Yep. I got all of that. We're going to be talking about all of that today. Now, the first bit of news we're going to be talking about comes to us from MMORPG.com. And by the way, remember that I can't do this if Article 13 goes live. Well, I'll still do it until someone forces me not to do it. Even if they approve that Article 13 in the European Parliament, I'll still do this until someone comes in here and says, yo, dude, you can't do that. So, whatever, dude. Until someone sues me and I have to get a lawyer, I'll keep on doing what I do. Anyways, continuing onwards. So, this little bit of news right here comes to us from MMORPG.com. And they're talking about Diablo Immortal, and it says, NetEase took some time to speak with Chinese media about its work in partnership with Blizzard Entertainment on Diablo Immortal, a forthcoming mobile-only ARPG. Since the announcement at this year's BlizzCon, reception by the online community has been hellish, but developers are hopeful that additional development details may help ease concerns. Diablo Immortal is being built using NetEase's Messiah game engine that has been in use since 2010 across a number of its titles. The company has worked with Qualcomm over the years to ensure proper optimization with its chips. As for more game-oriented details, here's what MMO Culture ferreted out of the interviews with the Chinese media. The story will not be as dark as previous titles, something more suited to mobile players. The company has no problem with players using PC emulators. The business model is not yet determined. The team is beginning to consider additional features, including a wardrobe system, auction house, I hadn't even read that part. Auction house. That deserves a clap right there. That deserves a clap right there. Auction house. PvP and guild functionality. No decision has yet been made whether or not there will be crossplay between iOS and Android devices. So, first thing that you get out of this particular article is that Diablo Immortal is not being developed in a Blizzard engine. So pretty much everything that everyone has been saying, I mean, assuming that this information is correct, because, you know, this is from MMORPG.com, this is not something that I myself can confirm, but assuming that this information is correct, essentially, this is not using a Blizzard engine. And we're going to be talking more about that as we move along, which is very frustrating. And it basically confirms what everyone's been saying. It's a reskin, or like I said, it's a skin job. Skin job. And then it also tells you that this engine goes all the way back to 2010. Old ass technology. Okay? And in case you guys have doubts, in case you guys are like, is it really? Is it really, Rurikhan? Are you sure that this is a skin job? Here's Endless of God. Here it is. This is too loud. They just have music. You don't need to... There's no actual sound. This is Endless of God right here. Notice the interface on the lower right-hand side. Little buttons, the stuff that you can click on. Notice how the gameplay feels like. Notice even the ability cast targeting system. Look at all of that. Okay? This is Endless of God. Right? Let's move it a little bit more so that you can see maybe a couple of more effects and stuff. Looks like they're just showing this one knight class that they got here. Notice the loot drops on the ground. Notice the gold. Notice all of that. This is Endless of God right here. Now, let's take a quick gander at that gameplay trailer from Diablo Immortal. Let me just full screen this. Man, I don't know about you guys. Looks pretty similar to me. Naturally with much better art, because Blizzard's art is fucking amazing. Looks like they introduced a couple of new mechanics. This is a mechanic that I would actually like to see in Diablo 3. Like the whole going down the rope thing actually looks like a lot of fun. But yeah, notice the gold on the ground. Notice the targeting reticules. All of that stuff. It's basically a reskin. Interestingly enough, why don't I see the UI? They don't show the UI on this trailer? Oh, dude, that's just not gonna do. I thought that they showed the UI. Wait a minute, wait a minute. No, 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 no. Here's Pallytime's video. That one has the UI. There's the UI right there. Look at the buttons on the bottom. Just like the other game. The map is no longer on the top left-hand side. It's instead on the top right-hand side. And the health gauge of the character goes from being in the middle down here to up here. I mean, I don't know about you guys. It's pretty obvious. So I would have to go ahead and assume that what is being said here on MMORPG.com is correct. And this is being built on an 8-year-old engine called Messiah. Messiah. Jesus Christ himself made this engine. So what else we got to talk about? Well, let's talk about a Polygon article that I can actually agree with. I was blown away when I saw this article. I was like, holy crap. There's a Polygon article that I can agree with. Jesus. This is written by Ben Kuchera. It is an opinion piece. And the most important part is this. How Blizzard pitches its games, because this is going to tell you exactly one of the main reasons why this thing went over so sour. To understand Blizzard, you need to understand that it's a developer that is known more for its execution on existing ideas than its original concepts. Blizzard takes games that people already love and iterates on them with a focus on lore, character design, and polish. Blizzard doesn't need to get to a genre first, it just needs to be able to do it better. And this is true. This is very much true. Like, they even give you a couple of examples. Here's the Storm is their attempt at going after Dota 2 or League of Legends. Even though, in the case of Here's the Storm, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that because MOBAs were essentially created in Warcraft 3. Let's be completely honest about that. But anyways, it's like we take a game that we like and then we make our version of it. Didier explained, Sam Didier, one of the artists. I'm not sure if he's artist director, artist lead, whatever. He's one of the artists for Blizzard. Really cool guy. He's also, I think, isn't he the lead guitarist for Elite Torrent Chieftain? And maybe even the singer as well. I don't remember. Either way. So that's the format of how Blizzard reveals new games, and it's easy to explain. World of Warcraft, Blizzard does EverQuest. Warcraft, Blizzard does Dune. Overwatch, Blizzard does Team Fortress 2. Hearthstone, Blizzard does Magic the Gathering. Here's the Storm, Blizzard does Dota 2. Diablo Immortal isn't the sequel that Diablo fans wanted, nor is it Blizzard taking a crack at an existing genre. Instead, it's an example of an external company, NetEase in this case, taking a crack at a formula Blizzard had seemingly perfected. Fans were at BlizzCon to see what Blizzard can do with the ideas of other companies, not what other companies can do with Blizzard's ideas. Particularly because this has been done 1,000 times. 1,000,000 times even. How many Diablo clones exist out there? How many Diablo clones, dude? There's not even thousands, there's millions of Diablo clones. Everybody always goes back to the original. There is one good one that keeps being thrown around, which is Path of Exile, which is a really good game. It's just there's something about it that I can't get into it. But it is a really good game. I'll admit it right here. Path of Exile, fantastic game. As a matter of fact, Path of Exile developers are probably super happy right now. But yeah, I was actually surprised that there was a Polygon article that I could agree with. Now, there was that story that you guys were talking about where Blizzard scrapped plans for a Diablo 4 video at BlizzCon. This is by Jason Schreier. And he says there's been a correction to this article. This article originally stated that Blizzard had recorded a video planned for BlizzCon in which co-founder Alan Adam talked about a new Diablo game. Although we can confirm that the video was made, Blizzard disputes that it was planned for BlizzCon. So Blizzard is saying it was never planned to be at BlizzCon. So their original plan was to finish the presentation on Diablo Immortal, which I'm not sure which part is worse. That they planned to finish the BlizzCon presentation with Diablo Immortal, or that they are now denying that they had planned to do it the other way around. I don't know which story I like better, you know? Either way, we all know what happened, and you know, there's now a lot of people saying, we're definitely getting Diablo 4. We're definitely getting Diablo 4. It's definitely going to happen. Two people familiar with Blizzard's plans confirmed that the company had indeed recorded a video in which co-founder Alan Adams spoke to fans about a new Diablo project. The dispute here is the timing. We had originally reported it was planned for BlizzCon, but it's possible those plans were simply discussed and never solidified. Either way, the video never came out. We can confirm that Diablo 4 is indeed in development. One of those sources told me that the Diablo team wasn't yet ready to commit to an announcement, as Diablo 4 has changed drastically over the past 4 years and may continue to change further. We've heard it has gone through at least 2 different iterations under different directors. So basically, Diablo 4 is sitting in development hell. And in the meantime, to kind of appease the fans, or at least that's what I think, to appease the fans, their idea was, we're just going to release Diablo Immortal. We're just going to announce that. You might as well have not done anything, I swear. Like, that was a bad idea, dude. That was a really bad idea. But, yeah. So, continuing onwards, you guys were also talking about Mark Kern. Those of you who don't know who Mark Kern is, he was a producer for Diablo 2. We can see right here on his Wikipedia page. He has done Way of the Warrior with Naughty Dog, Star Reach with Interplay, StarCraft for Blizzard, StarCraft Blood War, StarCraft 64 for Nintendo, Diablo 2. So he was a producer for Diablo 2. He was also a producer for World of Warcraft as well as Firefall, which I was actually surprised. I was not aware that he had worked on Firefall. And even though Firefall was apparently not very successful at the end of its life cycle. I got to tell you guys, I played Firefall earlier in the beta, and I was actually pretty hooked on that game for a good long while. You guys can actually look up Firefall in my YouTube channel, and you will find like videos of me playing Firefall, because I was enjoying that game quite a bit. So the fact that it was on Firefall made me a little bit happier, you know, because it probably means that I like this guy's work a whole lot. If he's worked on Diablo, Warcraft 3, World of Warcraft, Firefall, you know, seems like an okay guy to me. So here's what he had to say on Twitter. Blizzard gamers are not smugly entitled, nor are they toxic, and they most certainly are not made, he meant to say mad. They most certainly are not mad about a mobile version of Diablo because they hates the whammon. Craziest blue check theory I've seen so far. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I already addressed this on my video yesterday, that was such a dumb thing to say on Twitter. That was just completely idiotic. Okay? The guy who put up that post is a complete idiot. There's no other way of saying that. Who believes that gamers don't want more women in gaming? Bitch, please. Bitch, please. Anyways, continuing onwards. He then goes on to say, since I was producing Diablo 2, a lot of people have been asking for my thoughts on the whole Diablo Immortal fiasco. I hate to say it, but what you are seeing is Blizzard not understanding gamers anymore. And when he said this, I was really sad. I was really sad because this is a guy who was there during Blizzard's prime time. I mean, look at the games he worked on. StarCraft, Brood War, Diablo 2, Warcraft 3, World of Warcraft. This was the heyday right here. The heyday of Blizzard. This was when this guy was there. This was when the really good shit was happening for Blizzard, right? Anyways. And again, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. Because I love Blizzard, and I hope that they can pull a redemption act somehow. You know, because I want to believe that they're not too far down the dark side. That they can be pulled to the light side. I want to be the Luke Skywalker, the Blizzard's Darth Vader right now. You know what I'm saying? I want to be the Luke Skywalker to Blizzard's Darth Vader. Let's continue. There's nothing wrong with having a mobile version of Diablo. In fact, I would have wanted one as an option, but the way it was hinted at and presented and the failure of Blizzard management to predict the backlash caught me by surprise. Blizzard used to be really gamer-driven. And this is the thing. He's entirely right. I'm not against the mobile version of Diablo, per se. But I want to have a main, properly developed version on PC and consoles. And then we can also have this mobile thing. Like, mobile should be a companion to your main game. That's the way to do it. They did it perfectly fine with the Warcraft companion app. It's really good. You basically can do all of those missions and shit while you're not in the game. And then when you are in the game, you can just actually play the game. One improvement that actually could be done on that Warcraft thing is if we could manage Auction House. Now that'd be really cool. I mean, I personally don't do that all that much, but I'm pretty sure most World of Warcraft players would love to be able to fuck around with the Auction House when they're not in the game. But yeah, it's like we're not against having something on mobile. What we're against is like Blizzard waiting all these years to announce something Diablo related, make a big fuss about it, and then be like, here's this mobile game. That's the problem. That's the real problem. Blizzard coyly played up the Diablo hype, which is a good move, but failed to anticipate that their PC-based audience was going to expect, well, a PC-based announcement. And that, following all that hype with a different product, is a huge bait-and-switch feeling moment. Blizzard has said now that they are working on multiple Diablo projects. They really should have dropped the teaser for their PC-based project alongside their mobile announcement if that is the case. The problem, as we talked about earlier, is that That particular project is in development hell right now. Diablo 4 has changed drastically over the past 4 years and may continue to change further. We've heard it's gone through at least 2 different iterations under different directors. Development hell. Isn't it amazing that Diablo of all games ended up in development hell? They're fighting real demons over there, you guys. You guys have no idea. Continuing onwards. But what is really telling is that this surprised them. They were expecting backlash, but they didn't have a plan for it. They didn't predict the wave. Any Diablo gamer could have simply told you what would happen if you asked. Blizzard never used to have to ask because it was made up of hardcore gamers from top to bottom. We used to say we were our own harshest audience for our games. I would have had a line of devs outside my door telling me this was a bad move. The fact that Blizzard was A, unprepared for this reaction, and B, had no plans to mitigate it, even knowing some of it was coming, is a great disappointment to me. It smacks of, yeah, well, suck it down. Sorry, Jay Romero, it wasn't your fault. This isn't a toxic gamer issue. Thank you. Thank you. This is not an entitlement issue. This is just bad PR handling and a bad culture on the part of Blizzard, I'm sad to say. It's a culture that says, we know better, and it fits right in with, you think you do, but you don't. Maybe you don't know better anymore, Blizzard. Maybe you've really lost touch with gamers and you are now in some $1 billion a year ivory tower that needs some reflection on your part, because that's how big business fail. Remember Nokia? Remember Blockbuster Video? Today's devs needs to talk to gamers all the time. Game dev has gotten so big it's easy to lose touch. Many devs stop playing games as they start making them professional. You need to make an effort to connect and tear down the corporate wall to get to know your audience. And I like how Blizzard isn't blaming their customers yet, but say they are passionate. That's pretty good so far, but an apology and a PC reveal would be better. They're busy with BlizzCon wind down, but I hope to see a better response after all of this. As for mainstream game journalists, they are blaming gamers, and so are a lot of know-nothing devs in mobile and indie. To them I say, be prepared to lose a lot of customers and money, because it's never right to blame your customers for your own PR blunders and learn nothing. I think that Mark Kern has pretty much nailed it right there. He said pretty much everything that needed to be said. And this is coming from someone that was there. This is coming from someone that was in the company itself. And it's like, it's so weird to see them go from where they were, especially when it comes to the Diablo 3 thing. It is very weird to see them go from Diablo 3 into Reaper of Souls and then to this. Because it's almost like we have some idea of what people want, but not all of it. That was Diablo 3, because the real money auction house as well as the auction house completely corrupted the entire game. They completely destroyed the essence of what was Diablo 3, which was my biggest frustration. It was the first Diablo game that upon release, I didn't go all the way up to the maximum difficulty, and I actually had to stop playing because I just lost the will to continue playing Diablo 3 on launch. You guys might be wondering, well, why? What was the big deal? Well, I finished the game, and as per usual, just like we had in Diablo 2, you had the 3 different difficulty levels, which escalated difficulty, and that's how you continued playing Diablo. Like, you didn't actually begin playing Diablo until you were on the highest difficulty level. At least that's the way that I usually saw it. Until you actually finished on the highest difficulty level. That's when you actually started playing. That's when you actually started farming for stuff, the Mephisto runs, that kind of stuff, right? And on release, I never got to that point with Diablo, because I realized halfway through the second difficulty that it's like, I'm not actually getting loot. I'm not actually farming for loot. Most of my gear consists of blues and 1 or 2 yellows. And what I'm doing is I'm farming for gold to go onto the auction house so that I can then buy equipment that I need to continue progressing in the game. So essentially, my best choice of action would always be go to Act 3, farm that initial section of Act 3 that was just like chock full of clumps of enemies, get a bunch of gold, and then repeat, go to the auction house, get a weapon upgrade, and then move on a little bit further in the difficulty. And then when I hit another wall, go back to Act 3, farm that gold again, go back into the auction house, buy another weapon, and continue onwards. That's the way Diablo 3 worked for me at the start, and that's why I had to stop playing it, right? Then eventually when Reaper of Souls came out, it changed everything. Because suddenly there was no auction house. Blizzard realized that the auction house was essentially corrupting the very essence of what that game was. And that fundamental change got me back in Diablo. And I started playing it, and then, we had adventure mode and torments and stuff like that, and I got full on back into it for a good long while. Because it was amazing to play it again, to enjoy that game again. It was amazing. And then to see them go from that back to this, a mobile game that nobody wants, a mobile game that the company that is actually developing it is not even Blizzard, that is being developed by NetEase, and this company is saying, we're considering a fucking auction house? Where was that part even? Wardrobe system, auction house. NetEase is considering an auction house after Blizzard specifically destroyed the auction house in Diablo 3 because it corrupted the very essence of the game. Like, this is beyond out of touch. It's beyond anything. Like, are you kidding me? Anyway, something interesting has also happened in the last couple of days. I didn't notice until this morning. This website's looking a little bit different, isn't it? This is the Diablo Twitter page. It's got a Diablo 3 logo with the Reaper of Souls motif. It's got a Diablo 3 background as well. Why? They rebranded the whole thing. It's no longer branded as Diablo Immortal. Now, I have one more thing that I want to talk about in this particular live stream. But again, I don't know if I'm going to upload this to YouTube or not, but if I do upload this to YouTube, this is probably where it will end. Because this next thing that I'm going to show might actually get me in trouble. Now, this is the Q&A that happened on the Mythic stage after the announcement of Diablo Immortal and all of that stuff. So, like I said, I'm not going to play this on YouTube for sure, because it can get me in trouble. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I would advise you to go and check out this particular Q&A, because it says a lot. It says a lot about this product. It says a lot about Diablo, and it says a lot about how comfortable the Blizzard team is with this particular product. These micro expressions always happen on anyone. Anyone who is genuinely excited, anyone who is genuinely angered, anyone will always have micro expressions. And look, I can literally pause here and I can go frame by frame, and you will not see a single micro expression of excitement. Not a single one. Like, look at that. You know what I read into his micro expressions? Forceful. As in someone who is being forced to do something that he doesn't want to do. Look, you can see in his face right there. You can see it. Look at that. Disappointment. Look at that. sorrow. Those are the micro expressions. Look at that. Look at how his lips curve down. Like, I'm not making this shit up. I'm not. Like, if he was genuinely excited about it, he wouldn't be able to hide it. Because micro expressions, unless he was like super well versed into this micro expression techniques and shit like that. But look at that. What do you see there? Sorrow, disappointment, regret. Those are the expressions that I see on his face. Those are the micro expressions that you are getting. Okay? Which is why I know for a fact right now, because that's just how the internet works, all of these developers right now are getting a ton of shit on the internet. Like, you need to understand, I'm not criticizing him. Sure, we make a little bit of fun of the situation here and there throughout this live stream. I'm not criticizing him. I'm not criticizing these developers. It's not their fault. They don't have a choice. Look at that. What is that? Look at that. He's almost like, guys, like, this is literally he is saying something, but his face is like, I'm just so sorry. Look, I can't make it up. Your body has a language. Your body speaks whether you like it or not. What does that language say throughout all of the frames that we went through right now? He's sorry. He's like, I hadn't analyzed this face frame by frame, to be honest. I hadn't planned on doing it. I decided to do it on the spot, and I actually feel sorry for him right now. Just look at it. I'm not making this up. I'm not coming up with something that's completely weird or fucked up. Do some research. You can read about body language. Look at his body language.
PlayStation. We're gamers. Everyone at Blizzard is gamers.
Haven B, you're talking about the smug guy on the left. I can assure you, I can do the exact same thing for him too. Watch. Watch. What does that face tell you? What does that face tell you right there? Does that look like smugness to you? That looks like someone who's about to tell you that your dog died. Look at it. Even though he's trying to look excited. But if you pause it, look at it. Look at the disappointment. Look at him trying to force his lips upwards into a smile, but he can't do it.